Hello everyone, welcome to the Flurist Programmer, where code and music make creativity. Today we are going to be building a very practical app that will be allowing us to track our expenses as well as our income in our daily basis, which is an expense tracker app with just HTML, CSS and JavaScript. If you like the video and you want to see more tutorials like this, please don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe and share with your family and friends. It will be a huge help for the channel of the Flurist Programmer. Also, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to make a post on the comment section and I will be more than happy to help you. Before we dive into the coding session, I'm going to give you a light demo of how the app looks like, so in that way you know what you are going to be building with me on the remaining part of the video. Let's go! Hello guys, the app that we are going to be building today is an expense tracker app. So basically we have a car here, we have the heading, we have here another heading which is a little bit smaller, then we have some numbers here, income, expense, and then we have add transaction with two inputs, in this case one for the description and the other one for entering the amount, and then we have a button of add transaction and a history heading here. So basically on the app we are going to be tracking the expenses. So first one, I want to add an income. So for example, let's put here the description that this is my income. The income, I don't know, maybe like $400. I add that as an income. So basically now that I have that income and I want to add some expenses in top of it because I have some things that I want to buy with that 400 from my income. So now I will be adding, for example, I don't know, water, and then the water cost me like $4. Minus 4 in this case because it's an expense. We need to declare it with negative. So if we do that and we click on add transaction, so basically as you see here, we have the 400 and then there is a subtraction of 4. So that means that we have at the end of 396. So for example, let's create another expense. So let's create let's put, for example, a chicken tray, and then I don't know, maybe like $20. Let's put it on negative, so in that way we put that is an expense. Add transaction, and now we have 376. Why? Because we are subtracting the water plus the chicken tray, and that means that the 400 after those expenses, which are like $24, we are going to have like 376. If by some reason we type like an expense by error, so for example, I don't know, let's put some gibberish here, put postly, and then I put an amount of -20, but then I realized that this is not like the name of the expense that I was expecting to type. Basically, you can just click here on the cross, and this will be deleting the expense. So in that way, you can pre-add it again. Also, we are using local storage. So if I reload the page, as you see, the data is persisting. So this is a really nice app where you can keep track and also use local storage to know what will be your expenses. Stay with me because we are going to continue with the coding session, so in that way you know how these apps work in the background, all the steps that you need to follow to get this end product. Let's go, guys. Let's start with the coding session. So as we have been doing on previous videos, we need to create a folder for the project. In this case, I already have it here on the desktop. You just make a right click, new folder, and then assign the name of your choice. Then that we have the folder, let's go to Visual Studio Code and also the browser of your choice in order to start working on the project. The first that we are going to do is create the necessary files that we need. The first one is going to be, as you may know, let's create index.html. Second one, styles.css. And the last one, script.js. Good. Let's use the emet abbreviation, exclamation mark. Oh yeah, we are on the wrong file. Let's go to index. Let's use the exclamation mark, emet abbreviation, tap on it to generate the DOM type. Okay. So let's start with the title, and also let's make a right click on the index.html and open with live server to get it here. Good. So let's change the name of the title of the page. In this case, let's put expense tracker. Good. Let's assign the style sheet, in this case the styles.css. So let's open a link. The link is going to have a rel of style sheet, and the href is going to be styles.css. Good. So now inside of the body, let's create a div that is going to be with class of container. Inside of this container, we are going to declare an h2. This h2, we have the name of expense tracker. Good. Then inside of this, let's create another div where we are going to have an ID of balance. Inside of this ID, we want to have an h3 that will say your balance, and h1 that it will have the ID of balance amount. By this time, let's put $0.0.00. Good. So now after this div of the balance, let's create another one that we are going to give a class of income expense. Inside of this div, let's create another div. We are going to have an h4 where we have the income, and then a paragraph tag, p tag in this case, with the ID of income. And let's add a class of money plus, and right now let's put the plus sign and then $0.0.00. Okay, then let's create another div after this one, and this one will have an h4 of expenses. Expense. A p tag with the ID of expense, and the class will be money minus, and let's put minus $0.0.00. Then we have this div, and this div that is the income expense. After this one, let's create an h3 that will say addTransaction, and then after this we are going to have a form. This form, as the name suggests, is for submitting, in this case, info. So I will show you later how the form works. We are going to add an ID, and this ID is going to be named form. Inside of the form, we need 2 inputs and 1 button. So the first input is going to be an input of type text. The ID is going to be text. Placeholder, we'll say enter description with 3 dots, and it's going to be require. This require property is for letting the browser know that, as the name suggests, the input is required. So if the user doesn't type anything at the time of submitting the form, it will be popping a warning that will say this input is required. You will see when we test the full application after the coding session. So then let's create another input here. It's going to be, in this case, type number, because we just want to type numbers on it. The ID is going to be amount, which is for the money. Then we want a placeholder that would be enter amount with 3 dots, and also we want it to be required too. Right. So let's assign the button, The button in this case is going to be type submit because we are on a form. So by declaring the button to be type submit, we are letting the form that we want to trigger an action by clicking on this form on this button. So and then let's add the name of addTransaction. So as you see, our project is starting to take some form. After the form, we want to declare an h3, which will be history. And in this history area, we'll be displaying all the expenses or the income that we have. So let's put a UL here and an order list with the ID of list. And then we want a class of list2. For the last, before closing the body here, you know that we need to declare the JavaScript file. So let's create a script tag here, and then a source property where we'll be defining the script.js that we have here. So let's put here script.js. Good guys. So this is the part of the index.html. Let's proceed right now to give some styles to the styles.css. Let's start by giving some styles to the body. Here on the body, we want a font family of Arial. And in the case that there is not Arial, we want to fall back to sans serif. We are going to use a background of number S4, F6, F8. And we want to display flex to use flexbox. We want to justify content of center and align items to center too. So that means that we want to align the elements on horizontal and vertically on the center. Let's give a height of 100 view per height, so it takes all the space of the entire browser in this case, and a margin of 0. Good. So let's go to the container class. For the container, let's assign a width of 350 pixels. We want a background of white, FFF. We want a padding of 20 pixels, a border radius of 8 pixels. Good. And for the last, we want to assign a box shadow, and this box shadow will have a 0, 3 pixels, 8 pixels, and an RGBA that I already have here for the shadow. Good. Let's assign then for the H2 some styles. We want to have a text align on the center, as you see for the expense tracker. We want a margin bottom of 20 pixels, so to give some space at the bottom. Let's go right now to the class of income expense. For the income expense, we want a display flex 2, a justify content of space between. So as you see here, we want some space between the income and the expense, so in that way they are on both sides. So let's assign a margin of 20 pixels on the top or the bottom, and on the left and the right we want just 0. Let's assign a padding of 10 pixels. Good. For the background, in this case, we want to have like a little bit gray color. So let's do some number F9, F9, F9. So in that way, you see that it differs from the white that we use on the container class. Let's assign also a border radius here for this container, but in this case, it's going to be a 6 pixels. So as you see, the borders are rounded. So now let's go for the class of money, but for the plus sign we want to assign a color of green. We have some pre-default colors on Visual Studio Code. So basically, if you put green, as you see, it will pop up the color. But if you want, you can change it. But yeah, well, let's keep it like that. Let's do for the money in this case, but for the minus, and the colors is going to be red. So in that way, we are referencing to subtraction. For the form, we want a display flex as well, and a flex direction to be column, which means that basically all the containers, or in this case all the elements that are inside of the form, they will be aligned in columns. So that's why you see that they are piled like they are on a stack. Okay. Now for the input that are inside of the form, in this case we have two. Let's assign for input, and then we also have for the form button. So in this way we are referencing the two inputs and the button that we have inside of the form, and we want them to have a padding of 10 pixels, a margin of 6 pixels on the right and left, and the top and bottom we want 0. We want also a border radius of 6 pixels, and we want a border to be 1 pixel solid, and the color of D. So basically this border will be referencing to each one of the borders of the elements. So we have the border for the inputs as well as for the button. Good. So now let's give to the button form button. We want to give a width of 100%. So in this way it takes all the available space which is inside of the container. For the button, we want to assign specific styles. So we want a background, and this background will be number 1A73E8. So we are referring here like a blue color. We want the color for the font to be FFF, so it will be like a white. We want to have a border none, so this means that we don't want any border on the button, and we want a cursor pointer. So if I hover on the button, you see that the cursor changes to that small hand. Is because we are using the cursor pointer. So now let's assign classes for the list. Here in this list is where we will be injecting all the inputs, the expenses that we'll be having, the income and expenses. So for the list, we want the list style to be none. So this means that we want to get rid of the bullet points that are coming from the list. We want a padding of 0, and also we want a margin of 0 too. Now we want for the list li, which is each item inside of the UL, we want a display of flex. We want a justified content of space between two, as we did on this area here. Space between, yeah, there is. We want a padding of 8 pixels. Good. We want a background of FA. We want a border left of 5 pixels solid. So this means that we just want to assign a border to the left to the left part of the element. We don't want it for the whole element. A margin of 6 pixels top and bottom, and then 0 left and right, and a border radius of 4 pixels. Great. Then we want for the list inside of the li that have the plus class. In this case, this will be representing as income. We want the border color to be green. For the list li dot minus, we want the border color to be red. And what this means is that we'll be representing the income with the green button. So this means that is a value that you are adding. And for the red, in this case, is an expense. It's a value that you will be subtracting. So that's why we have green and red. So this is all the part of the styles.css. So now let's go to the main part where we'll be giving interactivity to our expense tracker app, which is the script.js. Let's proceed on the script.js. We want to declare certain const variables. The first one is going to be balance. We want to get some elements from the DOM. Document.getElementById in this case, and we want to have balance amount. This balance amount is the one that we have here, this one here. Let's go back. Then we want const money underscore plus, which is for the signs. Document dot get element by ID, and we have income, the ID of income. Then const money minus document dot document dot get element by ID, and we want here the expense. Then we want to get the list. Const list is going to be equal to document dot get element by ID, and in this case we want the list. This is the list that we have here, this one, the UL, the unordered list. We want also the form. Const form is equal to document dot get element by ID with the ID of form. Const text document dot get element by ID. In this case, we want the text. Let's go back. The text is the first one that we have here, which is for the description. And for the last, we want const amount document.get element by ID, and we want the amount. So you see all these elements has been accessed throughout the ID, and that's why we declared IDs on each one of those on the index.html. So let's continue here. After this, we want to declare a let variable transactions equal to json.parse. Since we are going to be using local storage, we are just getting here the value from local storage. So local storage dot get item, and the item we have a name of transactions. Good. Let's close it with a semicolon. And in the case that we don't have it, let's put an empty array. Now let's declare the function of addTransaction. addTransaction. Let's put a comment here. And let's put a function addTransaction. We want an event. Let's put the brackets here. We want the prevent.default, and this function is for impeding, or in this case blocking the form to be executed. If, for example, by some reason right now I click on add transaction, of course it will be showing the required that please fill out this. For example, let's put some numbers. But if by some reason I'm not using the prevent.default, what is going to happen is that the form will get submitted, and as you see, it will be reloading the page. So we don't want that. We just want to prevent that, and that's why we are using this line here. So then we want to declare the const of transaction, and this transaction is going to be an object where an ID is a unique value, so it can be repeated with other elements. So let's put the day.now. So in this way we are going to be using the day also with seconds, so every time that this value is taken it will be different. Then we want a text, and this text is going to be text.value. So this is the text that will from the description input that we have here. Then we want the amount, and we put a plus sign. So in this way we are going to be converting the value, in this case to be positive, integer, amount dot value. Good. So after this, let's put we want to, in the transactions array that we declared previously, we want to push this object. Let's push it to transaction, and then we are going to be adding other methods that we are going to be declaring in a sec. Add transaction DOM, and we want to pass the transaction. Another method that is going to be updateValues. We also want to declare another method to update LocalStorage. So in this way we have data persistence, and when we reload the page, our data will keep there, it won't went away. And we want to clear the values from the input for the next submission. So what we do here is text.value is going to be equal to empty, and amount.value is going to be equal to empty string too. So now let's declare the function of addTransaction to DOM. Let's put a common here, add to DOM. Let's put a function, addTransaction.DOM. We need a parameter, in this case which is the transaction, so let's put it here, transaction. And then inside of here, let's put some variables. The first one is going to be a sign, const sign, and this sign is going to be transaction dot amount. So we are getting the amount property that we declare here on the transaction object. If it is minus than 0, then we want to do something. In this case, if we know that it's a negative value, that means that we are going to be representing with a minus. If it is a value that exceeds 0, is going to be a positive value, so we are going to be using the plus sign. Then we want another const variable, which is const item, and we want to create an element. So we want to create an li element. So what we do here is document.getElementById, and then let's put li here. Good. Now we are going to be adding some classes to that item. So what we do here is item.classlist.add, and according to the amount, if it is minus or plus, is the class that we are going to be added. So in this way, it will be showing an income that in this case is green, or it will be showing an expense that is going to be red. So transaction dot amount is less than 0. That means that we have a negative number, so we want to add the class of minus. Oh yeah, we need to put the interrogation here. And in the case that is greater than 0, that means that we want to put the plus. Great. Then we need to modify certain values of the item of the text. So item.inner HTML, and here we're going to be using backstring. So to make string interpolation, the way that we do it here is $sign and then brackets. So in this way we can declare variables inside of it. So what we do here is transaction.text, which is the text that we have here from the description, and then we want to declare a span tag here. Good. For the span, we want the sign. So in this case, to know if it is positive or negative. So let's put sign here. So the one that we have here, minus or plus. And then we want to be using also another variable. Or in this case, we're going to do an operation math.abh, which stands for absolute. So we want to get the absolute value, in this case positive, and the transaction dot amount. Good. And then let's create a button next to it. Button. Great. Let's put an on click, so we are assigning an event, and the event that we want to assign here is remove transaction. And this transaction is a function where we want to be passing a certain parameter. So the way that we have to identify a transaction is by the ID. So we need to pass the transaction.id, and the button we have an X. So this means that it will be a button for deleting. So as the name suggests in the function, we are going to remove that transaction if we don't want it anymore. Good. For the last, at the end of the method, we want to do list.appendChild, and then we want the items. So what we are doing here means that on the list, which is the unordered list, the UL that we have here, this one here, we want to be injecting through our JavaScript the li that we created here on line 33. So after we create the li and then we assign classes and then some text to it, we will be injecting that item, in this case the li, to the ul. Good. So now let's proceed with the next method, that is update balance. Update balance income and expense. Function update values. We are going to declare a const variable of amounts. These amounts will be transactions dot map, and then for each transaction we want to get the amount, the amount. Good. Then for what we are doing here is we want to be mapping from the transactions object that we created here on line 18. We just want to create another array that will just be the amount number, so it won't be including the ID or text. So in this way we are formatting the array that we created here. Good. So then let's create a const variable of total, and then the amounts dot we are going to be using here a new method that is called reduce. Let's do this dot reduce, and what this method do is basically make an accumulation or a sum of all the elements that we have inside of the array. So if we have, for example, like 3 expenses, and those expenses, each one is 10, 15, and then 20, it will be making an addition of all those 3, and then it will be returning the total value of those 3 numbers. So that's the purpose of why we're using the reduce in this case. So for the reduce, we need to pass a callback. The callback needs 2 parameters. The first one is going to be a previous, and the second one is going to be next. Then we pass the previous plus next. This means that we are going, so for example, if we had those 3, let me make an example here. We have 12, 13, 12, and 20. So what we are going to do here is the previous, in this case, will be 12, and the next one will be, the previous will be 13, and the next one will be 12. So it will be making the addition of 13 plus 12, and then the total of that, then on the next iteration will be making the addition to 20 in this case. And in that way, it will be getting the total of those three numbers. I hope that I made it clear. So after this here, let's put 0. So this means that this is the initial value that we want to start. So from 0, and then from there, it will be making the additions, okay? And we want it to be fixed. This means, and we pass the parameters too, this means that we want to get 2 places after the decimal on the result. You will see in a sec. Then for let's create for the income, const income, we want the amounts, and we want filter. We want to filter the item, and the item, we want the amounts, the item that are equals to, that are greater than 0. And after this, we want to reduce. Again, we are going to be using the callbacks, previews, and next. Here we want to sum previews plus next, and put the accumulator of 0. Good. And we want it also to be to fix to 2. Yeah, good. So let me just fix it here. It's not to be fixed, it's to fix. Great. Then we are going to be declaring the const of expense, and on the expense we are going to do something similar. We want the amounts that we got from the map here on line 46. Amounts dot filter. We want to filter the items. In this case, this is for the negative ones. I want the items. Oh, yeah, let me put this inside of parentheses. And I want the items. I want the items that are less than 0. Item less than 0. Good. After this, we want to reduce. Let's put it here. Dot reduce. Let's put again the previous plus the next one, and then we want to make the addition, previous plus next. We want to have the initial value of 0 plus -1. This means that after we get all the elements from the amounts that are negative, we want them to be to get the negative sign. So in that way, you will be you will see the results that are showing as negative, as expense. And then after this, we wanted the amounts. We wanted to be to fix again. So we need to enclose everything. Let's put it here. We need to enclose everything here. Let's cut it and put it here. To fix, and then to two places. That's it. So as you see here, again, we are enclosing everything that we do here, and then we want to get just the first 2 places after the comma. Okay. After this, let's put balance.inner HTML, and the tot is going to be equal to string interpolation, and let's put $, and then dollar again in brackets to make a string interpolation and do total. So in this way we reference variables. We want the money plus dot inner HTML. Oh yeah, so sorry, here we need inner text. Yeah, inner text because we are not passing any tags. We are just passing strings. So let's put again here $sign and then dollar. Then let's put it here income. Money minus dot inner text is going to be equal to again double $sign and then here brackets, and it's going to be expense. Great. So now let's proceed to declare the remaining functions that we need. In this case, we need one for remove transaction. Remove transaction. These ones are going to be a little bit easier. The more complex one was the update values because we are interacting with all the logic. Function remove transaction, then we pass an ID. Transactions is going to be equal to transactions dot filter, and then we want to filter the transaction that t.id is not equal to the ID that we are passing from the parameters. So in this way, we are going to be filtering the transaction that the transactions that are different to the one that we are passing that we want to remove. Okay, and then we want to update local storage, and we want init, which this will be another function to initialize all the values. You will see in a sec. And now we want to update local storage function, update local storage, and we are going to call local storage dot set item. This item we are going to be calling the key of transactions that we have here at the top. And then we want JSON.stringify. So we are formatting the value to be saving on the local storage, and we want to pass the transactions, which is the array that we have at the top. Then let's declare the init function that we are going to be calling at the time that the JavaScript file is loading. Function init, and then here list.inner HTML, we are going to put it to empty string, then transactions for each. This is for iterating on each index of each transaction, and we want to add transaction to the DOM. So we are going to be calling this one here, add transaction to the DOM, and update values. Let's put the init method here, so in that way we call it, and let's add an event listener for the form, so in that way we can submit what we are typing on the inputs. So form.add event listener, and we want to listen to the submit and call the function of addTransaction. So this form here, we have it here at the top. You see? Good. So let's proceed now to test the full application to see if it is working as expected. First, we need to fix some small typos that I have here. So in that way, we can avoid certain errors. So the first one that that I have was here on document. I don't know if maybe you did the same, but here I had F, but it needs to be document. And also for the transactions, as you see here, I'm missing the N between the S and A. So all we need to do is change the names. Transaction. So for example, let's make a command F, and then let's look for transactions, and then let's replace it with transactions, and then just put here replace all. Good. And now we should be good to go. These kind of issues, guys, are completely normal when you are recording a coding session. So I hope that you have some patience with me. So now let's proceed to test the application. Let's create right now an income here. Let's put income. Let's say that my income is 1,000. So add transaction. As you see here, it's updating the values. So we have 1,000 as income, and now I'm going to add some expenses. For the expenses, they need to be negative. So first, for example, let's put the water again, and then right now let's assign another value. In this case, the water is an expense, so it's going to be -10. If I do this, as you see, we have an income of 1,000, and then the expense is $10. So we are going to be subtracting those $10, and we will be having at the end 900 with 90 bucks. Let's add another expense. In this case, for example, let's put like meat, and the meat is going to be 20, but let's put it in -2 because it's an expense. Add transaction, and now the expense is 30. So that means that we'll be subtracting 30 to the 1,000 initially, and that ends of 900 with 70 bucks. So now let's say that, for example, maybe I added by error the water and I just want to get rid of it. We can just click on here, and that will be removing the water. So now the expense is just 20 bucks. For the last, if I reload the page, as you see, we persist the data because we are using the local storage. To verify that we have the local storage, let's make a right click, inspect, and then here let's look for the tab of application. Once you are on application, look for local storage, and then for the address, in this case 127.0.0.1, and you see here that we have the transactions array, and here we have the two expenses that we have. And for the last, as you see, if it is an income, in this case, is going to be declared with green, and if it is an expense, it's going to be declared with red. So that's all the application, guys. I hope that you have liked it, that you have enjoyed the video. I hope to see you in the next one.